And I think one huge advantage that we women have today is that we understand women better. As Avani rightly said, more and more purchase decisions, whether it's consumer goods, IT, doesn't matter. More and more purchasing decisions today are being taken by women. So in my field, in technology, more than 70% of purchasing decisions, what to buy, are being taken by women. Now, if you have a office full of men, engineers, and developers, and you go and tell them, we need to develop this really cool device for women, they're gonna, in all probability, say, okay, let's make it pink, right? And it's gonna sell. That's not the only thing that sells. We have to understand the usage, how is she gonna use it, what is she gonna do with it, what are the things she cares about. In today's world, honestly, that's one of the biggest advantage women are bringing to the table. We understand the consumers. We have a better connect with the consumers. And it's something I advise everyone, all women who are aspiring to go up the ladder in their careers, to really use as a huge strength, because it is. That's why companies want us today.
But I just would like to add, I firmly believe that women are born leaders. They are greater situational leader than men. I mean, here we can see our own mother. What role did she play? Most of us are in the middle age, and if you really think, introspect, what role our mother has played in our life. See, the husband may be of a different temperament, that son would be very aggressive, the daughter would be a little very open and going and not, and out of the 4 children, 1 child may not be studying well. But if you really introspect how our mother handles different situations, she is cool, calm, and handles everyone according to their temperament, according to their needs, and she sees to it that harmonization is there. In fact, I had read the book, what is not taught in the Harvard School. Sometimes I wonder whether it is really necessary. If you really see the role played by our mother, we can really learn a lot how different situations she handles very easily, lucidly. So the women have that natural edge of understanding every situation and then prioritizing the work and then playing that leadership role. That's where women tend to be a good leader. Of course, the men here, I'm not actually mentioning the value, but it is something which is just coming naturally to women, actually to play a more team role, to have more empathy, affection, and that comes naturally to us.
Sometimes people say women, opt out of careers when they have children, when they have their responsibilities, their organizations. Are they really waking up to this idea, ma'am? About retaining women as a workforce, and it's worth investing in women? You spoke about diversity as something that's so important and what it adds to organizations.
Absolutely. I think retaining women at different stages of life is a very, very important subject. And, all organizations are taking it rather seriously, because I think childbearing and nurturing life is an important, not just biological, but emotionally, the way that a person grows, especially for leadership, I think it plays a very important role. Coming back to why it is important that you recognize diversity and celebrate it, I think very much empathy, but I think women are inanely a very high risk taker. High risk taking. If you just look at the history of humanity, over the last century, you've seen women come out and work and play different roles, but you've still to find men who'll stand up and say, I'm okay to be a home daddy. Just the fact that they are comfortable to fight and make this journey not only demonstrates that they have empathy and that they are situational leaders, I think they are risk takers. If you just sit back and, forget about the gender bias, I mean, look at all of us. Are we idiotic or insane to take up so many responsibilities? Which guy is willing to take all of this? So risk-taking, showing your vulnerability to stand up at home and in the organization is phenomenal, according to me. So that quality itself, is very important to be a leader, to take risks.
I come from an organization where there are more women employed than men and headed by a woman as well.
But I want to make a point on diversity. I think all the points mentioned here allude to the fact that we should have at least 40–50% of our workforce as women. But the statistics show that that's not the case. It is just not the case. So, like, I've been chairing the diversity agenda at Kotak for the last 4–5 years, and it is not easy to really ramp up the numbers. What has changed in the last maybe 1 or 2 decades is that the entry flow has increased, but the funnel to the top still remains narrow. And the reason is that women are dropping out at every level for various reasons. Marriage, some drop out, not too many, but when they have kids, beyond a point, they decide their balance. And their balance is, I'd like a balance between my home and my office, so I'm contented. I don't want to fight for that funnel. So the funnel today still remains narrow. So the good part is that the flow has increased, but the funnel is still narrow. And what organizations are working on, and I can talk about what we do, is really trying to see how can you widen the funnel all the way to the boardroom. But the fact is, funnel is still narrow.
And policies now that are actively looking at engaging with women when they drop off. So for the 3 or 4 years, they may even leave the organization, but you stay in touch with them with a view to bringing them back. So the whole idea of returnees is quite a new one, but one that is being worked on.
Yeah. I picked up some data for you on this funnel, and we're looking at UK, where Queen Victoria probably till today has made changes which everyone enjoys. And it says that 52% of the jobs are held by women, but not many occupy the corner suite. And 14.6% of them are executives. 8% are top earners. And 4.6% of Fortune 500 companies only have women CEOs. And if you want a 50–50%, it'll be in the year 2085. None of us are going to be here. So this is the data which is there on, women being CEOs or occupying the corner office. So that's the way it is. Yeah.
If we talk about intergovernmental panel on climate change, where they say hardly 5% or 10% on such a panel, such an important panel, which would determine the development choices that the world really makes in many senses. So having women on top, very, very critical, I would reckon. Is there resistance really? Is it because women, for instance, would consider themselves a failure if their children were to go the wrong way, and they would think that's a priority and therefore I'm not going to put up my hand? You spoke about making those choices, very conscious choices. Sometimes very, very difficult to make those choices. Is there resistance from the rest of the world, which is the other 50% or more, or less?
So I think some of it has to do with time. You look at the banking industry. Today, you couldn't question how many CEOs we have that have been and are women. Our largest banks in India have women as heads. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that many of us entered the workplace 30 years ago, and it is because of the passage of time. If you're in the right type of organizations and you stay the course, you do get there. And you get the Mrs. Iyers and the Arundhatis and all who are really a product of the last 5–6 years. So you've seen that happen in the public sector. You saw it in the private sector because ICICI created a lot of women. When Chanda became CEO, 2 or 3 left, and they went on to become CEOs of different banks. And I think in the foreign banks, we were just ahead of the curve anyway. So I had the advantage of being in a culture which was maybe quite enabling in any case. So I think some of it is time. The consumer product companies have started very late. When I joined Grindlays, there was no way that the consumer product companies were hiring women with great pride. They used to say, oh, we can't really take them to the sales places. Where will they stay? They have to go into the market. Forget it. We're not hiring women, even if their MBA is from IIM. So everyone started on the journey late. And you have someone like Preetha also, just tell you that if there was a son in the family, maybe things would have been different. So circumstances are quite different. Today, I've had people tell us that SMEs, small companies around the country, the girls are joining the business. So they're coming in. I don't have enough analysis to say it's because there are no sons there, but the girls are joining the business because all hands on deck. And it's not something that is being questioned. So I think some of it has to do with time. And as it's far less of an event today when women get promoted into roles. I don't think men in the organization resist it, provided it's a meritocracy. And I think we have to be careful that as we embrace diversity, we don't begin to promote because we want the woman to get ahead. But if two people are equal, the woman should get ahead.
I was concerned about whether we have enough of qualified workforce or those women are not putting their hands up also for various reasons that they may have. Are we finding enough women who are qualified who can occupy those things? Is it a personal choice that's preventing them or something else? They are not qualified enough.
So, there's one very interesting data. Very recently, there was a study that came out which said that women feel they have to be 80% ready for a job in order to apply for a job or apply for a promotion. Men apply when they feel they're 50% ready. 30%? Was that 30%? Okay,
that is true. That is
30%, right? So that tells you where a part of the problem lies. It's, I think the elephant in the room is what's inside here, right? It's a lot of what's inside here is what's holding us back because we want to be perfect. We want to be absolutely perfect for the job, for the role, and we want to be 200% sure before we say, this is what we want.
Is that what is holding back women also as a personality trait? This thing about perfection. You want to be a perfect mom, you want to be perfect at taking care of your parents. Many women now take on that role as well, which is a welcome thing, of course.
I want to mention a trait here, taking from where she left off, is, this is called this risk-taking ability. Right? It's much more in men than in women. And she's absolutely right. We have these IJPs, right? Internal job positions. Whenever there is a promotion, 80% application are from men. Whenever there's lateral, a lot of women apply. Because women says, oh, I have only so much, I need to be more. So I think there is what I call the comfort zone, syndrome. Women like comfort zones. And if things are working well as a balance between work and home, why disturb it? And that's one of the things we are trying to work to say, get out of your comfort zone if you have to build leaders. They say, no, things are working fine, my family and work is working fine, it's okay, I don't need the corner office. So there is a contentment and there is a concept of a comfort zone. Both are true. And that's one of the reasons why the funnel is sort of narrow. Sorry?
I don't think so. I don't think so anymore. That comfort zone, I think, is something which we can organize ourselves. It's really not there. But I'll tell you one issue which should come up, and it kind of bothers me a lot, is that there's some still very old traditional big business families, and there's a rule in the family constitution. It's not an unwritten rule, it's a written rule that the women cannot work. They will not be partners in the business, even today. And I think that they should be reading books like this. And somewhere somebody has to, break that tradition. But traditional families have it as a very written down rule. So
in fact, you mentioned the role of a parent, the father especially, in many of these stories that made it into the book.
Yeah. Well, I think really this is a message to all fathers, because if you see the influence across all the essays of the father, and some of it, yes, maybe that the mothers weren't working, but the role of the father in all our lives was just so critical that it would suggest that fathers should be spending 50% of that time on bringing up their children, girls and boys, because that influence is so material. And if fathers were to take their role seriously as they should, then maybe the balance that they seek would be very similar to a woman, which is the time at home versus the time at work and how you balance that and indeed engage in what you do at home.
I think we should
But
start
Naina,
throwing
it was, sorry,
questions.
but it was my mother who told the four of us, you girls better be independent. It's good for you all. And you need to find a way to be independent and, you know, stand on your own feet. So I think the moms play a great
My
role.
case too, it
Dolores,
was my
you
mom
need
who
a
always
hand
says you must
for
be.
playing a big role here too. So I think the moms are somehow playing a big role. The fathers are mentors, they nurture you, they give you the space in the corner suite. But I think the mothers are the ones who kind of push.
I would actually agree with that because they tend to say, I missed out on something like that, but I need you to.
No, it wasn't to say the mother wasn't, but I was saying that you have to have the father.
There's value in the father
as well that takes you forward there.
I'm sure they have many questions too. Who wants to put up their hand? Do you have a mic to pass around? Or shall I walk?